Hello everyone, this is Ankit and today we are going to learn about array implementation. Now I have selected this topic. It's because I'm going on a journey to learn data structure and algorithm from scratch. And the first thing I encountered was array, and the first thing inside array was array implementation. And when I asked people who has already done that, they said that it's something good to start off with, and it tells you about how array functions and what goes behind the scenes of array implementation and how array works on a basic level. So the basic thing that array does is we put values in it and we can perform various methods that array comes with. So we are going to do just that, and I've already created a repository in GitHub where I'll be uploading everything that I am going to code from now on, and every question or every topic that I encountered will be uploaded into that, so that with proper comments so that you can understand it and use it. So it's better if you can fork it to your own account. And let's start. So the repository name is, I guess, DSA Python. I'll show you. We are going to commit it as soon as we finish the coding part. So yes, it's DSA Python, and I think I have created files in it. Yes. So if we start with beginning, it's deleted, it's not used. Yeah. Array implementation, and we are going to give that array all the basic operations that array performs, and I'm going to explain it step by step that whatever I'm doing, so that you can get a idea of how it functions, just like I did. So we are going to create a class because we are going to use the array multiple times. We are going to create construct a class, construct array every time we use it, and for that we are going to use class. So basic operations in Python is a prerequisite. If you know how to create a function and how to create a class, you are good to go. So first we will create a class called array, and we will form a function that is called init, and it's used, first parameter is self, it's used to create a constructor. So whatever that comes inside this function will be the constructor, and that will be constructed whenever we call this class, that is array. So we'll construct an array in this, and what we need to create an array is, I think, the basic building component of an array is its capacity, I guess. So we will say its size, or we can say it capacity, it's better to understand if we say capacity. And we'll use the first parameter is self in every constructor class. So we'll do the self dot capacity is equal to capacity, the how the basic constructor is formed, and capacity we have declared. Now we will declare the elements, and we will assign it 0, every value of that array to 0. So what this will do, self dot arr equal to 0 into arr, we have created an array with capacity equal to capacity that we will put, and we will have created an array of whatever capacity it is, and we have assigned the value of the element as 0. So if we put 5 in the capacity here as a parameter, the array form will be like this. So we'll it will be like this: 0 value to every 5 elements that we have created an array with. Why we have used 0 is because it's easier to manipulate the value 0. It could be undefined or it can be anything, but it's easier to change the value of 0 to anything that we want. And yeah, so that we have, so for that reason we have used 0. And we will also create a instance variable length, yeah, equal to 0. That's the initial length of an array, because we have just formed an array, so that will be an initial length. Now this init, and there are few special functions in Python class that we will use in this array implementation, and it's also called dunder function, that is double underscore functions. In short, it's called dunder, and these are special methods that tells a class to perform a specific, whenever we whenever we use these functions, it tells the class that these methods are need to be performed to that particular class. So init is used to create a class, a constructor, and we will use string. It's also a dunder function, and it will also take parameter self. Why we use self? It's because it's here also, so whatever it's inside the init function can be used in this also, so that's why we are using self. And in string we will return the length of the string of the array. So if we want to return the string, we will, how slicing is done. If you want to create an array and if you want to return the string, the length of the string, and not the length of the string, the whole elements that is listed in the array, if you want to return it, perfect. If you want to return the whole string that is inside the array, we can do it as 0, that is the first element, to the length of the string or capacity. String is not a parameter, so yeah, because it's taking parameter as self, we will do that. So this will print out the string. This will return whenever we will want to return the elements of the array. It will return it as a string because we have assigned it to the string, and then it will. This is the calling of the parameter. So the self.arr is, this is the array self. Since if you want to use it, we are going to use it by using the self.arr if you want to use this particular instance variable. And what we are doing here is we are selecting the first element and the last element, that is the length of the array here. So whatever is the length, it will return the value. Now what we can create is, what array does is, we can go for length also. So what parameters will length take self, every constructor will, the first parameter will be self, because we are using the constructor variables. The first value of the parameter we should assign as self. It's good practice, because anything that is going to be used to create this array is listed here, all the things that we need to create an array. So this self, what else it could take nothing. This, because we already have the length, so we can return the length directly. This will return the length of the array. Now we have returned the string, we have returned the length. What more we can do? The basic methods have been done. So what more array can do is it returns an item, it gets an item. If we want a particular element from that array, it gets us that value, and it also sets a particular value when we want to set or append something in that array. So another tender function that we are going to create is get item, and it will take parameter self, and since we are using get item to get a particular element, we need to know its position, so we can do index as another parameter. We only have to list the parameters that we need in order to perform that particular method in the array. So we need index for this, and we have to write down the conditions for index to run. So if we give an array which doesn't have any element, it should return that there is no element, and if the demand to get an item is exceeding the length of an array, it should return it's out of reach. So we can throw exceptional errors here. Not exceptional error, we can raise errors. So in order to not just print the errors, we can raise an error, and it's more sophisticated form of getting an error rather than just printing, because it gives more detailed information of what and how error occurred. So I guess if is without bracket in Python. If index is less than 0, or index is greater than self dot length. So if array is, the given array has no value, or if the given value is exceeding the length of an array, we will raise an index error, because it's the error for index, and we will write down that index is out of range for these two conditions, either of these two conditions. And if it's not, then we will return the array, that is this, to whatever index the user has asked for. Now we can go for set item to set an item, which will take self, of course, index as position, that is where you want to put that particular element in the array, and what is the value of element that you want So whether it is a 2 numerical 2 or a character that you want to put in the element in the array, we are going to use value as the parameter for that. Again, we are going to give conditions of errors. Can copy and paste it. Yes, index is out of range, and if not, then we will return. We will not return, we don't have to return, we have to set the value. So self dot self array. This is the array we want to set at particular index which user will give, and that position will be assigned to this value that user will give. So what we are doing here is we are using the array that we have used in the constructor, and we are giving the position that whatever position you want to set the element at, and what is the value of that element. So if we go for self dot array, and if we give the position 2, and if we want it to have the value mango, so it will give you something like, suppose it's all the elements are 0, so 0 1 2, here will be mango. And of course you cannot mix the value in array, but for example's sake, this is what is going to happen. Leave. Now, yeah, this is done. Set item, get item, length we have returned, string we have returned. Now this is for a particular index. Now what if we want to append it? That is one of the operations in method in array, is to append the value at the end of the list or the array. So whatever value we will give, it will append at the end. Now Python already has a operation or a method for that, but we are going to create it from scratch so that we understand how it functions. We don't have to provide index because we are not asking for the particular position to set an array, because we are going to put it in the last position. So only the value. And you set the value, whatever value will be provided in the parameter, it will be at the end, and the value of length will increase. So from now, let me put a space. So from now on, we are going to work on creating methods that are used in array. The 4 basic operations, I think it's append, delete, and I think it's append, insert, remove, and one more, I guess what it is. It's append, remove, and pop and push. So both of these does the same work, but 2 of them takes the position that is index and 2 of them don't. So I think the pop and append don't take the index positions. They directly add and remove values from the last of the array, and the insert, and what was another, the remove, I think, takes the index position to, no, the remove will not take index position, because all we have to do is to provide the value in order to it for removing. So we'll first create append. We have taken the parameter value. Now how we can code it? We have to put the value at the end. So the length of the array, and we can use this to provide the value at the end. So self.arr, and in index we will give self.length, because that will be the last value of their array, and we will provide the particular value that we need, and we will increment the value of the length. But what if it is, so an array is of 8 bits, a byte, so all the 8 boxes, let me draw it. If this is an array, perfect array, and these are the boxes, three, 6, 3, 9, yeah. So if we fill out these 8 boxes, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. If this is an array, and if all the values are filled, then the operation of array says that it's a principal of array, dynamic array. If it's static array, it will not resize, and if it's dynamic array, it will just create a different pair of array, or it will assign that array to a different storage in the RAM by just doubling the array, and not just increasing a storage area. So it will not be just another box. If we want to add additional element after 8 elements, it will not be just one box, but again all the set of 8 boxes. So it will assign new memory. Unlike static array, it will assign a new memory with all additional 8 new boxes, in order for us to put values in future if we want to add more values. For that reason, it gives 8 more values, and this is something that has a good this is a good feature of dynamic array. It is able to resize, so we can code it like this. How do we remove it? How to remove it? Clear all. Okay. Yeah, if we can code it, if self dot the length, the capacity is full, if the capacity is full, so if self dot length is equal to self dot capacity, we will resize it. But we have to create a function for resizing as well. So first we will create a function of resizing. For it to resize, we need nothing but all the instance variables of the constructor we will use. And since it doubles the storage value, we will do self dot capacity and we will double it. So it will be self dot capacity is equal to self dot capacity is equal to self dot capacity into 2. This is what it's saying. So we have double the capacity if we resize the array, and new array will be formed. So again we will create it by the same thing. This is new array and every element of that array will be 0 and into the self capacity, that is the size of that array. So new array will be formed with the size of the capacity that has been given, with each of its element being 0. Now we have doubled the values, we have doubled the storage during resize. The values of the old arrays are copied to the new storage location. So that old location with all the 8 bits full will be copied to the new location with 16 bits, and that old location will be deleted. So we have to copy the elements of the old array to new array which is bigger. For I in range self dot capacity self dot length the values of new arrays I will equal to self, that is the old one, and each element will be iterated in this for loop, and we will copy it to new array self dot new array. No, it's not, we don't have new array in that constructor. Okay, so we will do self dot, so this is copying of all the elements of the old array to new array. And in this for loop what we are doing is we are iterating over the elements of all the elements in that old array, and we are assigning the values of new arrays using this for loop to the new location. The first 8 elements we have to copy from the previous array, and what we are doing here is we are assigning that values of the new array to this. So previously it will be 0 and now it will be the value that was assigned previously in the old array. So now we can use this function. If that array is full, we will resize it, and if not, if it has the space to contain the elements, then we will put the value as it is. value. And we are doing cell.length. Cell.length means the last value of that array, because that's the final length of that array. And we will increment the value of the length by 1, because we have added an array. Now append has been done. What we can do now is we can create another function insert, which is also the same form, the same thing that append does, but it will take index, because it gives the user the ability to decide the particular position in which the array, in which the element needs to be added. Now what will happen is, whenever we add a particular element in the particular position of the array, that position and the remaining position after that. So if the position we want to assign the value is 2 of the array, so the remaining arrays, if the array is of length, is of capacity 5, and we want to add a new element at the position 2, so 0 1 2, let me draw it. Pencil, yeah. If this is an array, and if we want to add a new element to this at this position, if it's already filled with the integers, suppose, and we want to add a particular element at this position, in the place of 3 we want to add 7 or 9, we want to add here. So the remaining elements that is preceding this position needs to be shifted to right. So 4 will go here, in that way 3 will come here, 5 will go here, and 6 will go here. So this can be a bit complex. We need to resize it. If there are 8 elements already in the array and we need to insert, then we have to resize it, because it will form a new array with double size, and we will raise the obvious index error if the value provided as index is less than 0 or it's bigger than the capacity of array, the length of array. We will throw an index error, and if both of these conditions does not occur, then we will add the element by shifting the elements to the right. So for how we can do it, we can first give the index error, and we can indentation, can format it by clicking somewhere here. There is a format document. Yep. So index error has been given, and we have to resize the array if it exceeds the value. So if self.length equals to self.capacity, we will resize the array. And if these conditions are not the case, then we will insert the value. So how we can do that is by using for loop. and we will iterate it with each element of the array from self. So we have to go from, if the array is of a certain capacity, then we have to go from the last position to first position. Because we have to shift the elements to right, we have to go from last position to first position, backward loop, and self dot array. This will also increase the value by 1. How you can do that is, there is an array, and if you have to shift the elements to right, if we go from first to last, if we go from first to last, we can shift it. But if we go from last to first, this is not fun anymore. If we go from first element, if we go from first element to last element, no, this is an insert, so we have index which will tell us at what position we have to add the element. So there is no first element. So if we go from last element to the index of first, no, yes, if we go from last element to first element, it changes my programming language for a minute. In range, self dot last element to index, last element to the value, to the position, backward loops. What will happen is, it will iterate from backwards, and from backwards to the position we have given it will iterate, and it will leave the remaining. I'll show you by drawing. It will go from last to this. Why we are doing this? Because it's just because in order to optimize this, we are doing this. We can also go from first, I think, from first element to the index provided, but we have to shift more elements. In this case, we are not able. We will not be required to shift the remaining elements. So all we have to do is, if this is the position that is to be filled, then it will iterate from this to this, insert the element, and shift the position of the remaining element one position to right, and it will leave, no work will be done in this part of the array, so it will be a better version. So that's why we are using backward loop. Okay, so how we can do it is by the elements of the array I is iterating from last to first. So last to first arrays of I will be shifted to the right, to the right, and value will be assigned. Self dot array new value will be I plus 1, shifted to right, yeah. And we will add the value by giving the index, whatever index user will give, and whatever value user will give, it will be assigned to that particular position. Self dot length will be increased by 1 because we added a new element. This is insert. Now same way we can create a remove function, which will not, it's not a special function. I suggest that you read more about special functions because it is a difficult thing to grasp on easily. But the basic thing is, it whenever we construct a particular object in the constructor, we provide these special functions in order to tell what is needed to be done to that constructor. So you cannot create a custom double underscore function, or you can call it special function. It's already predefined in the Python, and it tells the class, it tells the newly constructed objects that these functions are assigned to you, and whenever a particular function is called, you need to do this, this, and this. So yes, we will create remove. It will not take index because we will delete it from the last position of the element. So self and value, whatever value is given to us will be deleted. If we give a value to that remove function, it will be deleted, and it will be deleted from the last position of the array. And if there is no such value at the last, so if there is an array of 1 2 3 4 5 and we use the method remove, and we give the value as parameter 6 to that array, it should return that there is no such value as 6 in the last position of the array. So that will be a value error. We will raise a value error. So we will iterate every element of the array. For that, till the last position, from the first position till the last position, and if there is the value which user has given in the end, and the value, if there is the value, then it should be deleted, and the length should be also decreased by 1. Decrement minus equal to 1, that will be done, and also we will return an error. The array will be reduced by 1 if we delete it from the last position of the array. Now what will happen is, since we are deleting it, it should shift. No, it will not shift, because but the position, the index value will be shifted for the remaining elements, because there will be no element in the last. So if the array is this, and if we delete this position, then the index position, that is 0, array's index position starts from 0 and 4, and if we delete it from the last position, then it should not shift, because the fourth element will be removed, so there is no point of shifting the values. But since we are iterating it to every element of the array, this is saying that for I in range from first element to the last element, if the value given by the user is found in any of the positions. So it can be this also. So it's not the case of, wait, let me see how the let me see how it works. I am a bit confused about the working of remove and pop. How remove method removes the first matching element which is passed as an argument from the pop method removes an element at a given index and will also return the removed item. You can also use the delete keyword in Python to remove an element or slice from a list. So the remove method removes the first element. It removes the first matching element. So it is not the case of the last element that is need to be removed, but any first occurrence of the value that is provided in the parameter of the function of remove will be deleted. So it's not about, so we need to shift it towards right, or we need, no, if we delete a particular element, we need to shift all the elements after that index to the left to overwrite. We delete the element from middle of the array, and the remaining elements after that needs to be shifted to the left. It will shift, okay. This is shifting towards right. If we go towards left, then we will do +1. So this will be -1, and this will be for so we range from I to self dot length -1 plus we'll be shifting it towards the left. So the array will be equal to self dot array j minus 1 j plus 1. We are going to shift it towards the left. New value will be plus 1. Here we are going to shift it towards right, minus 1. The value of the particular index is shifted towards right, so it's minus 1. Because every element is shifting towards right, so 4 becomes 5, 5 becomes 6. Yeah. Okay, let's see if it throws an error, and if it's not something that we want, if it's not giving the output, the desired output, we'll see how it will work. We'll see it in depth, and we will not enter the for loop. Self dot length will be decremented by 1 because we have removed the value, minus equal to 1. Okay, same way we will create pop function, which will take index as value, but yeah, we have to also throw a exception value error here. Value error, yeah. If the value is not found, you can throw the value error. Defining the pop function, we will use index. Let me see it again how it was working. Pop and remove function in Python. Pop function removes the last element or the element based on the index given. So it removes the last element. So it doesn't remove, we don't need. It just removes it. So it removes the last element of the array, or it removes the value or the element at given index. So it does both. So we can give a parameter index, but we'll set it by default to none. So you can also either set the value of index, or if you not set the value of the index, it will be by default treated as none. So it will remove the last element. So we will do the basic conditions, that if the array is empty, there is an empty, then we will throw an index error that array is empty. What is the error? Cannot assign to attribute here. Maybe you meant okay, sorry. If self dot length if we are going to provide index less than 0 or index greater than self dot length. Greater than the value, then we will again raise index error. Array out of range. We need shifting in this also because it can either be removed from the last or from the element in between. So we have given the condition out of range if it's empty. If it's provided the value none, yeah, but if it's provided the value none, we have to also code for it because it's not going to understand in itself that if it's given the value none by default, it should understand it as index, self.index. The value of index will be the last position. What is happening here is we have given a parameter index, and if the user wants the value of index as none, so if no value is provided as index, the pop should consider it as removing the element from the last position. So in case of that, we will assign the index value to the last position, which is done here if the value is none, and if it is given some value, then it will go for these conditions. Now we have to set the value. And we have to remove the value, and we also have to decrement the length by 1. Decrement value by 1. This condition is for index is none, and if a value no if index is none, okay, consider the last value. But if it's not the case, then the value will be assigned to whatever position. This array index will be equal to this value, and if it is 1, then it will be the second position, the value of the second position of the array. So we have done that, and for we have to iterate and shift this time also to the left. Given value of index from start stop to the last value, yeah, first from the given index to the last. We will iterate, and then we will shift the elements to the left. Self dot air I will be self dot air left. We will decrease the length by 1. How the pop function works? The pop function removes the last element or the element based on the given index. Remove function, the first occurrence of the delete removes the index, deletes the whole list as well as delete we don't need. Turn predefined. We can also use pop in Python without mentioning the index value that we have done by providing it by giving the default value none. Then the pop function will remove the last element of the list that we have done. Okay. Function is used to return the removed element from the list. It also returned what it has removed. So what happens? Self dot length. Okay. So I think all the functions and methods are defined for the array. Now what we can do is we can test it by creating an array. So let's create an array from what we have created. So this constructor array will take the parameter capacity. Don't look at self because it's used for constructor purposes, but the only parameter it will use is capacity. So we are going to create a array with capacity, let's say 5. Okay. We'll create empty array with all elements 0, and there will be 5 such zeros in the array. Okay. And it will not show it because we can test it whether it will show or not. It should show 5 zeros. Array is not subscriptable. Type array is not subscriptable. Okay. Okay, so it will not. Okay. Is it giving an error? Array is not subscriptable. It is square brackets. We have to create a square bracket is for getting the element. So we'll try again, and it should return arrays with 5 elements, which each element being 0. Array is not defined. Array is defined. Name array is not defined. Error. Self.arr. Self.arr is not defined. Okay, it will be capacity because we are creating the elements equivalent to the capacity. Okay. Okay, so it has created an array, empty array, which has a capacity of 5, holding 5 elements in it. Now we will append values. So we can append values by, we can also print the appended values, but we can print it at the end. We can compare it with empty arrays. So we will append will take index value or not? No, it will not take 5. No, let's say 3. And then again print array. So it has given the value 3. What if we append another value, let's say 4, given the value 4, okay. Array dot ins, what more functions we have done? Append, insert. So we will, okay, let's add another array. So we can use the insert method more efficiently. 7, 3, 4 and 7. Array dot, okay. Three, 4 and 7. Now let's add a new element at this place. So 0, 1, 2. Let's add a new element at the second position. Index will be 2, 2, and value will be, let's add 8. Let's print it again. So yeah, it has added the value 8 here. Perfect. Now let's remove. Remove will take index. No, it will directly delete the last element or the element which has been provided. Value is not found. Why value is not found? Because it will look for the last element. Yeah, value remove will look for the last element and pop will look for the last element or the index provided to it. Value not found. If we type 7, that is the last position of the array, it should delete it. Value is not found. Okay. Value remove, raise. We have value will be, if the value is found then remove it and shift, else we have to return the value error if the value has not been found. So if we have to take it inside the if condition. If the value has been found, then we will remove it. Then we will decrease the value of length. So what we did is we took this condition, that is decreasing the length of the final array by 1, it will decrease if the value has been found. That is, the last element has been found. It will always look for the last element only. And if there is no such value, this is the condition for if the value has been found, and if it is not being found. So this raise condition, this return value, this raise value error is outside this condition. So if condition is for the value found, and if it is outside this if condition, then it's saying that if the value is not found, we will return the raise the value error, that value has not been found. So we will also use the pop, that is our last element, array.pop, which will, what's the usage, index. So it will directly ask for index position only. So let's first not give it a value. So it will by default take the value as none, and if it is taking the value none, then it will remove the last element, which we have specified here, that if it is declared the value 1, it will take the last element to be removed. So in this case 8 should be removed. Okay, 8 should be removed. Perfect. Index less than 0, not supported between instance type. It's the position index, not position. Index what? Pop. What is saying if index less than 0? This is just a simple exception error. If index less than 0, what is the error here? If index less than 0. So if we have to write none, or what? We have to write none in order for it to work. Less than not supported between instance of none type and int. Not supported between none type and int. Okay, so if the value is none, it will not support it. The very function, the very usage of pop is to give the index, and if it's not given, it should be the last element. What we have done here is the same. If index is less than 0 or index greater than self, okay, it's not. So we don't have to, if we remove this equal to and we directly not give a particular value, it should delete it. Missing one, okay, we have to give a particular. So by default, if we have to set a value of none, and if index is none, okay, we first have to, we should shift it first if index is none. So since Python is a scripting language, it goes from top to bottom. we first have to initiate the condition for if the value is none, and then we will have to give the index error if there is some certain value between first element to last element. Okay, so as we have given the none value here, we didn't give any value, none, so it took the last element, that was 8, and it deleted it. Now if we again append a value just to understand it, let's say 18, it will add another value 18, and print it. And if we delete the if we want to delete this element, that is 4, so 4 is at the position 0 1, dot pop 1, it should delete the element 4. Please delete element 4. Perfect. So we created an array, we implemented an array from scratch and created the basic methods that array works on, and how we saw the functionality behind the array and how it works, what goes behind the scene when we use the array in our daily programming. And this was it, and it's 3:44, close to 4 a.m. So this is late night series, and we have created an array from scratch, our own array, which is capable of doing every function that the standard array does. And yes, the code will be provided to you. Let's commit the code to the branch. Let's say array implementation, so that you can find it in the repository that will be given to it. Okay, you can see it, you can work on it, and the link for the repository will be provided in the description. And yes, this is the end of the video. I'll see you next time with another topic, and thank you. Good night.